Welcome to the 14th chapter of the book of Genesis. Abram rescues Lot. Begins in verse 1. Ageneto they inti Vasilea ti Amorphal Vasileo Senar. And it came to pass in the Vasilia, the basal plant as derivatives. We'll underline these prior to the seminar. It's a little bit easier. The English derivatives that come from our book, English Derivatives from the Greek New Testament, available in our bookstore. I want to go through it. And a Vasilia, we have a basal plant, basilica. And so the kingdom of the king of Shinar, that was down in southern Babylon, southern Mesopotamia, where Babylon is. Ke Arioch, Vasilevs, Elasar, Arioch, king of Elasar. Ke Hodologomor, Vasilevs, Elam, and Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, which is considered to be Persia, later time, and today Iran. So Iraq and Iran, people from that area coming into Palestine, even in the earliest times. Of course, it wasn't called Palestine, it was broken up with tribes. Kethargal, Vasilevs, Ethnon, and Tidal, king of the nations. Ethnon, of ethnic, is a derivative. Verse 2, Epes and Polymon meta vala Vasileos Sodomon. And they made war, Polymon, we have polemics, war of words, with Bera, king of Sodom. Ke meta Barsa Vasileos Gomoras. Ke meta Senaar Vasileos Adma. Ke Simor Vasileos Sevoim. Ke Vasileos Valak. Avti Esti Sigor. Sigor, and this is an area in the Jordan River. So these kings came from across over here in Mesopotamia, Abraham's journey. So they're all down in this area, Elam, and they came up and they crossed apparently and came down. So, and they are coming all the way down to the Dead Sea area. In verse 3, Pontus uti Sinaphonison epi tin faranga tin alikin. And all these joined in harmony upon the salty ravine. Avti e thalassa ton alon. They joined in harmony. We have a Sinaphonison. Symphony is the English derivative for that word. They joined in harmony in the salty ravine. This being in the thalassa, thalactic, has to do with the seas of the salt, the Dead Sea. 14. So that area now, this is the area, the salty sea, and the kings are now coming down. And the southern part is probably where Sodom and Gomorrah are, because it mentions other names of kings here coming up. Dodeka eti avti edu levsan to hodologomor. 12 years. Dodeka. Do is 2 and deka is 10. 12 years. They slaved to Chedorlaomer. To de tris kai decato eti apestisan. But in the 13th year they revolted. Try, and then the K is and, which appears all over. There's and. It's the most used word. There's another K, all these K, and decato, the deka is 10, 13. They revolted. So these 5 kings are revolting. And they to tessera kai decato, 14th eti, ilthe hodologomor, ke vasilis medav 2. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer came, and the kings with him, these kings, 4 kings. Ke katekop centus gigantes, and they cut in pieces the giants. Giga, a giant. Gigantic is a word. English derivative. It's 1095 too, so you won't find that in English derivatives from the New Testament, because this word only appears in the Greek Old Testament. So that's why it has the decimal, and you can add it to the book if you'd like. So they cut into pieces these giants. Where? The ones in Tus in Ashtaroth, Karnaim, on the map. Ashtaroth, Karnaim is right up here. So they're coming down now. They're in Ashtaroth, Karnaim. Ke ethni iskira ama aftis, and the strong nations together with them. Ketus Emmaus in Savi Tipoli, and the Emin in the Shava, the city. Poli, metropolis, Poli as a city, derivatives, polis. 14. Ketus Horeus, tus entis Orisi, Seir, and the Horites. The ones in the Orisi, we have an Or, the mountains of Seir. And Seir is right down here at south. So this is fairly close to Sodom and Gomorrah, and then mentions a little more other places. Eos tis teravinthu, tis Paran, and unto the terebinth tree of El Paran. And the terebinth is a direct transliteration from the Greek into the English. E estin enti eremo, which is in the wilderness. Eremo, hermit, is a derivative. 14.7. Ke anastrepsantes ilthon epi tim pigin tis chryseos avti estikatis, Kadesh Barnea, and returning. So they went down, and Kadesh Barnea is down in here, this area in Seir. So this is where this war was taking place, battles. Ke katekopes and pantus tus archontus Amalek, and they cut in pieces all the rulers, archon, rulers of Amalek. Ke tus amoreus, tus katikuntas in Asason Thamar, in Hazazon Tamar. All these places are down in that area of this Dead Sea. In verse 8, Exilthe they vasilef Sodomon, ke vasilefs Gomorras, and came forth the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah, ke vasilefs Adamah, ke vasilefs Seboim, and the king of Admah and the king of Zeboim, ke vasilefs Valak, and the king of Balak is in the Greek. It's the same name as the Balak later when the children of Israel coming back into the land. Whether it's the same one name, it's a title, could be. Avti st Zigor, and this area was around the Jordan River Valley, the floodplain. In verse, it continues, Ke parataxanto avtis is polimon inti kiladi ti aliki, and they deployed themselves for Polimon, war in the salty valley. So this is an area around the Dead Sea. In 14, pros hodolo gomor vasilea Elam, against Chedorlaomer, king of Elam. So here again, this is a king from that area. Thargal Vasilea Ethnon, title king of the nations. Ke Armarphal Vasilea Senaar, Amraphel, king of Shinar. Ker Ariok Vasilea Elasar, Ariok, king of Elasar. E Tesserus Vasilis Pros tus Pente, the four kings against the Pente. I should have underlined that. It's five, a pentagon. It's five-sided building in Washington, D.C. Verse 10, it begins, Ide kilas I aliki, thriata asphaltu. And the salty valley had wells of asphalt, tarry material. Asphalt, we have 805.2, so that doesn't appear in the English derivatives book, unless it's under another form. And then it continues, Ephige they vasilefs Sodomon. And the king of Sodom, Ephige, fled. We have a fugitive, the fuge, Ephige. Ke Vasilevs Gomoras, and the king of Gomoras. Ke Enepeson Eki, and they fell in there. Doesn't say whether they were killed or not, or was their army and exactly what, but something happened that they fell. Ide katalif thentes ephigon is tin orinin, and the ones being left behind fled into the mountainous area. So they're hightailing it out. Verse 11, Eleven they tin ipon pas and tin sodomon ke gomoras, and they took all the cavalry, ipon, hippo, with the h sound, the beginning, ipon hippo, hippopotamus, a river horse, all the cavalry of Sodom, ke gomoras. I went up to Canada, and I was mentioning having gone to a place called Calvary Chapel, and they thought it had something to do with horses, but this isn't Calvary, it's cavalry. Calvary is where the Lord was crucified, or the hill. Kepanta tavromata avton, and all their foods, they took them all. Vromata, the older folks out there, bromo seltzer, bromo as foods in Greek. That's probably where they took that word. Ke apilthon, and they went forth. Verse 12, Eleven they, keton lot, and they took also Lot. Ton ion to Adelphu Avraam, the son of the Adelphu, city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, the Adelphu, the brother, son of the brother of Abraham. Ketin aposkevin avtu, and his belongings. Ke apokonto are katikon in Sodomi, so he was dwelling in Sodom. The choice that he took of the green pasture of land towards the Jordan turned out to be not so good a move after all. In verse 13, paragenomenos they, ton anasothenton tis, and to a certain person of the ones being rescued coming, apingilin Avram, reported to Abram. To parati, to the traveler, it's the only places where it appears in the Bible. It's interesting, he calls him the traveler, the end, the para. It has to do with an end, the farthest part of a land, so somebody that goes far away. Avtos the katoki prostin dri ti mamvri, and he dwelt at the oak to the one of Mamre. Should be to the here. Anyway, the Amorite of the brother of Eshcol, ke to Adelphu Evnan, and the brother of Evnan, Eisen Sinomote to Avraham, who were confederates of Abram. So these other people are they heard about it, Abram, and then they told the other people. It says right here, Akusis de Avram, o te ik malotev te lot, o Adelphos avtu. And Abram, having heard that Lot, and there's no son, Eon, the one, it should be the one of his brother, but I put son in italics, has been captured, Erithmise tus Idius ikogenis avtu, counted out, arithmetic, counted out, his own, idios, own, idiosyncrasy is a derivative, the idio, self, own. Ikogenis, his native born servants. Triakosius, 300, osius. Deca, 10, decade, is a derivative. Ke okto, ke kata dioxen, eos dan, and this is the city of Dan. It was earlier called Laish. And this may be a later writing by Moses, who's writing down, and he knows what these places become after the 12 tribes, and Dan was, of course, one of the sons. So it may be also just called Dan, not after one of the sons I'm not sure, but the city of Dan and the area of Dan are different. Area of Dan was down along the Mediterranean. Verse 15, Ke epepisen epaftus tin nikta, and he fell upon them at night. Nikta, nocturnal, is a derivative. Avtos ke epithus avtu. He himself and his manservants. Avtos, we have avto, automatic, the self, running by itself. Ke epataxen avtus, he struck them. Ke katadioxen avtus eos hoval, and he pursued them unto Hoval, estin in Aristara Damascu, which is at the left of Damascus. So here we see that map, and here's Damascus. So now there's Dan, and now they've gone up, and their kings are going to probably go swing around up here. So he met them up there, Abram. In verse 16, Ke apestripse pasen tin epon Sodomon, and he returned all the cavalry of Sodom. Ke lot ton adelfu avtu apestripse, and he returned Lot, the son of his brother, brought him back. Ke panta, pan is all pandemic, all the people, and all ta iparkon ta avtu, and all his possessions were returned. Ke tas gynekas, the gyne is the gynecology, the derivative, and all the wives, or women. Keton leon, and the people, the laity, derivative. 17. Exil they vasilefs Sodomon e sinantasin avto. And the king of Sodom came forth to meet him. Now, if it was the same one that escaped, or if a son, if the one died, it doesn't really get that technical in it. So anyway, but the king of Sodom did meet him. Meta to apostrepse avton apotis kopis to hodologomor. In his returning from the kopis, we have a syncope as a derivative, an elision of a letter, like ner for never. Slaughter of Hedolaramor. Keton vasileon ton medav tu, and the king's with him. East tin kilada tin savi, and to the valley of Sava. Tuto into pedion vasileos, and this was probably down in that area of the Salty Sea. Verse 18, this begins an interesting story of Abram meeting the king of Salem, Ke Melchizedek, Vasilef Salim, Exenenken Artus, Ke Enon, and Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread loaves and Enon, wine, vino is a derivative. Melchizedek, king of Salem, Jebus was the city where Jerusalem is, and Salem was another name for this area, this city. And this Melchizedek is a person who comes out. He says it's the king, and he brought bread and wine from when Abram is coming back down in towards Sodom and Gomorrah. And it says, in the Earefs, to Theu, to Ipsistu. He was a priest, Earefs, hieroglyphic, the hiero, Earef, Eara is the priestly writing, hieroglyphic, of Theu, theology of God. The Ipsistu, Ips, we have the English derivative, up, and he was priest of God. It doesn't say the priest or a priest, but just he was priest of God. We see this mentioned in Psalms 110:4. It says, "Omose Kyrios ke metamelithesate si earefs iston iona kata tin taxin Melchizedek." And he's talking about up here, and the Lord said to my Lord, sit down at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool, the Messiah, and all these things. And he continues, and you are a priest unto the Eon, according to the order of Melchizedek. Jesus was a priest under the order of Melchizedek. And it continues in Hebrews 5:6, as also in another place he says, you are a priest into the eon according to the order of Melchizedek, about Jesus. So when we get into Hebrews, we'll be going through more of the tie-in of Jesus to Melchizedek. But back here, Melchizedek, it continues, Ke'evlogi se avton, and he blessed him. That is, Melchizedek blessed Abram. Ke'ipan, and said, Evlogi menos, Avram, to Theo, to ipsisto, Abraham, a blessing to God in the highest. Os ektase ton uranon ke tigin, who created the heaven and the earth. So Melchizedek is saying how Abram is a blessing and who the creator was. Uranon, the heaven, Uranus, the planet is a derivative, and Gene, geology. And the next priesthood that we go into is the Levitical priesthood. In chapter 28:1, it goes into that, and you lead forward to yourself both Aaron and your brother and his sons from out of the sons of Israel to officiate as priest, Erev Tevin, as a verb, to me, Aaron and Nadab, and they're the Levitical priesthood. Then the next priesthood is in Ezekiel 40, 45, and 46, where it says, and he said to me, this inner chamber, the one looking towards the south, is to the priests. And this is in the future. It hasn't happened yet. It didn't happen any time between when it was written and today. To the ones keeping the guard of the house. And the inner chamber, the one looking towards the north, is to the priests. To the ones keeping the guard of the altar. Those are the sons of Zadok, the ones approaching of the sons of Levi towards the Lord to officiate to him. So they are Levitical, but it's a Zadokian priesthood. And we'll be going more into this Zadokian priesthood when we get into the last 10 chapters of the book of Ezekiel. The next priesthood that is mentioned is the priesthood in Revelations 1:6, and made us a kingdom, priests to God and to the Father of him. To him be the glory and the might. He made us a kingdom. And then in 5:9, Revelations 5:9, it continues, by your blood, from out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation. So all these people, not just Leviticals, not just Jews. And you made them kings and priests, the same as Melchizedek, to our God, and they reign upon the earth. So there is going to be this future priesthood of all the peoples from all over. And in verse 26, it gives a little bit more information on these people. It says, blessed and holy is the one having part in the first resurrection. Over these things, the second death has no authority. But they will be priests of God and of the Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. So this priesthood is going to be going on for a long time. The priesthood and the Levitical priesthood went into the New Testament. Of course, there are still priests today. There are priests of the Eastern Orthodox Church, the Roman Catholic Church, and there are also priests in all types of religions. The priests were people that were between man and God. A mediator is a little bit different. I know a lot of you are thinking, well, there's only one mediator between God and man, and a mesitis is a mediator. We'll be going to that in another place. But the priesthood, it's an interesting thing to study. And so it continues then in verse 420, evlogitos, o theos, o hypsistos, os paredoke tus ecthrus su, ipohirius si. And blessed be God the highest, who delivered up your enemies under your hands, to you. Ke edoken avto Avram dakatin apo panton. And Abraham gave to him a tenth. I don't use the word tithe. I don't like tithe because you lose them. It's an amount. It's a tenth from all. In 421, Ipe they vasilefs Sodomon pros Avram. And this said the king of Sodom to Abram, Dos me tus andras tin they epon lave siav tu. Give to me the men, but the cavalry you take to yourself. Verse 22, Ke Avram, Ipe they Avram, and Abram said, Pros ton vasilea Sodomon, to the king of Sodom, Ekteno tin hira mu, pros Kyrion ton theon, ton ipsiston. I will stretch out my hand to the Lord God the highest, os ektise ton uranon ke tigin, who created the heaven and the earth. I apo spartiu eos spherotiros, ipodematos lipsome apo panton ton son, that I will not take to myself from the string unto the knob of the shoe of all your things. Ina mi ipis oti ego eplutisas ton Avram, that you should not have said that I enriched Abram. Plin on ephagon I nianiski ke tin meridos ton andron, except what the young men ate, and the portion of the men. Ton simporev thenton metamu, the ones going with me. Eskol aner mamvri. Eshkol, Aner, and Mamre. Uti lipsonte merida. These will take a portion for themselves. In verse 15, God communicates with Abram and gives him the blessings, and it'll be an interesting chapter. Hope you will join us, and God bless.